The screen goes completely black. Absolute silence. Only the sound of heavy breathing. Her breathing. Imagine this. You wake up in a completely dark room. There are no windows. No visible doors. You can't see your hands in front of your face. Every step is dangerous. Every movement uncertain. You stretch out your arms trying to find something, anything to orient yourself. Your fingers touch a cold wall. You follow the wall, walking slowly, afraid of falling into an invisible abyss. Your heart races, your breath becomes labored. You are completely disoriented. Now imagine having to make the most important decisions of your life in that darkness, choosing a career, investing your savings, entering into a relationship, moving to a new city, quitting a job, starting a business, making decisions that will affect the next 10, 20, or 30 years of your life, all while walking in complete darkness. It seems absurd, right? It seems impossible that someone could be so reckless. But that's exactly how billions of people live every day. They act without clarity, without vision, without a real understanding of the consequences. They make decisions based on fleeting emotions, social pressure, incomplete information, and advice from people who don't understand their situation. They act as if they were walking in total darkness, hoping that everything will work out by luck or chance. And the result? Unnecessary suffering, costly mistakes, wasted lives, collapsed relationships, failed businesses, careers that lead to profound frustration, investments that result in devastating financial losses, neglected health that becomes chronic illness, families destroyed by a lack of clear communication, missed opportunities because there was no clarity about one's own purpose. All of this could have been avoided. All of this could have been prevented. All of this could have been transformed into extraordinary success. How? Through a simple yet profoundly powerful principle: clarity before action. Have you ever stopped to think about how God works? When God created the universe, His first action was not to create the earth. It wasn't to create the animals. It wasn't to create humanity. His first action was to declare, "Let there be light." Genesis 1:3. Light, knowledge, discernment, vision, understanding. Before anything else, God established illumination. God brought clarity to chaos. This is a divine pattern that repeats itself throughout Scripture. God always brings clarity before demanding action. God always illuminates the path before asking you to walk it. God always reveals truth before asking you to act based on that truth. But you're doing the opposite. You're acting in darkness. You're making decisions without clarity. You're walking without vision. And you're suffering the consequences. In this episode, we'll explore why this principle is so critical. We'll understand how a lack of clarity is sabotaging your life. We'll discover the 5 channels through which you can gain genuine clarity. And we'll learn how to apply this divine principle to transform your decisions, your circumstances, and your future. The question that will echo throughout this entire episode is this: what if every challenge you faced was an opportunity for extraordinary growth, but you could only see it clearly? Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. You're not suffering because life is unfair. You're suffering because you're operating in darkness. You're suffering because you make decisions without clarity. You're suffering because you don't seek deep understanding before acting. But that could change. Today, right now, you can begin to seek clarity. You can begin to illuminate your path. You can begin to make decisions based on deep understanding, genuine wisdom, and a clear vision of the future. And when you do that, everything changes. Your relationships improve because there is clarity about expectations and values. Your business thrives because there is clarity about the market, strategy, and purpose. Your career advances because there is clarity about skills and direction. Your finances become organized because there is clarity about priorities and goals. Your health improves because there is clarity about habits and their consequences. Your entire life is transformed. It all starts with a simple decision. Will you continue walking in darkness, or will you seek the light? Will you continue acting without clarity, or will you illuminate your path? Will you continue to suffer unnecessarily, Or will you embrace the divine principle of seeking understanding before acting? The choice is yours, and that choice defines everything. Welcome to the Light Before Action, the principle of clarity. Prepare for a journey that will transform how you make decisions and how you live. Perfect. I'll move on to topic 2, brief introduction and contextualization. I'll create a narrative that delves deeper into the concept, introduces the protagonist, and establishes the biblical atmosphere you desire. Topic 2, brief introduction and contextualization. Contextualization, 2:30-7. The screen remains dark, but now there's a faint glow, as if a candle were being slowly lit. Subtle ambient sounds, gentle wind, calm breathing. Have you ever stopped to observe how the people around you live? Really observe? There's that coworker who always seems to know exactly what to do. When faced with a problem, they don't panic. They don't become paralyzed by doubt. They analyze the situation, seek information, consult wise people, and then act with confidence. And you know what happens? Their projects thrive. Their decisions work. Their career advances. Their life flows with a certain harmony that seems almost magical. Then there's that other colleague, equally intelligent, equally talented. But he lives in constant chaos. He makes impulsive decisions. He changes direction every week. He gets into relationships without thinking about the consequences. He invests money in opportunities he doesn't understand. And the result? Frustration, regret, suffering. He's always putting out fires, always in crisis, always wondering why life is so difficult. The difference between these two is not intelligence, it's not talent, it's not luck. The difference is clarity. One seeks deep understanding before acting. The other acts impulsively based on emotions and the pressure of the moment. Now let me tell you something that will change your perspective forever. In the previous episode, we learned that invisible processes govern our lives. Processes that you can't see, but that determine your outcomes. Your thoughts create emotions. Your emotions create actions. Your actions create habits. Your habits create character. Your character creates destiny. It all begins with the invisible, with what you think, with what you understand, with the clarity you possess. Today we will delve into one of the most powerful principles of these invisible processes, the principle of clarity. And to understand this principle, we need to go back to the beginning, to the very beginning of creation. The candle shines more intensely. The subtle music increases slightly. When God created the universe, His first action was not accidental. It was not random. It was intentional and profoundly meaningful. Genesis 1:1-3 tells us, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." Think about this. The entire universe was in chaos, formless, empty, total darkness. And what was God's first creative act? It wasn't to create structure. It wasn't to create order. It wasn't to create life. It was to bring light. Light represents knowledge, discernment, vision, understanding, clarity. Before creating anything, God established illumination. God brought clarity to chaos. Why? Because you cannot create order in darkness. You cannot build structure without vision. You cannot generate life without understanding. Everything begins with light. Everything begins with clarity. This is a divine pattern that repeats itself throughout Scripture. When God called Abraham, He first revealed His promise clearly. When God delivered Israel from Egypt, He first revealed His plan through Moses. When God sent prophets, He first gave them a clear vision of the truth. When Jesus came into the world, He presented Himself as the light of the world, bringing spiritual clarity to humanity. The pattern is always the same. God always brings clarity before demanding action. God doesn't say, "Leave Egypt without knowing where you're going." He says, "I will guide you. I will illuminate your path. You will have clarity about my purpose." God doesn't say, build an ark without understanding why. He says, Noah, I'm going to reveal my plan. You will have complete clarity about what to do and why. God does not say to follow me without understanding my nature. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I will illuminate your understanding. Understanding this principle, this divine pattern of bringing clarity before demanding action, will fundamentally transform how you make decisions. It will transform how you live. It will transform how you face challenges. The music changes to something more hopeful, more inspiring. Now let me introduce you to someone you need to meet. Their name is irrelevant. It could be you. It could be your neighbor. It could be anyone you know. But this person represents billions of people living in spiritual and emotional darkness. This person is intelligent, educated. Opportunities are available. But something is missing. A deep emotional fragility. An insecurity they can't name. A constant feeling that something is wrong, but they can't identify what it is. She wakes up in the morning feeling anxious. She doesn't know why. She just feels a weight on her chest, a feeling that the day will bring problems. She goes to work, but can't concentrate. Her mind is elsewhere, worried about decisions she made in the past, decisions she doesn't fully understand, decisions that haunt her. At night, she stays awake, thinking about her relationship. Is it right? Is this person the right one? She doesn't know. She lacks clarity. She only feels a constant doubt that she can't resolve. She thinks about her job. Is she on the right track? Should she have chosen a different career? She doesn't know. She lacks clarity. She only feels a frustration that grows stronger each day. She thinks about her finances. Is she investing correctly? Should she have made different choices? She doesn't know. She lacks clarity. She just feels afraid that everything will collapse. This person lives in darkness, not physical darkness. It's emotional, spiritual, intellectual darkness. It's the darkness of a lack of clarity. And this darkness is destroying their peace, their confidence, their ability to live fully. Do you recognize yourself in this description? Because if you recognize this, know that you are not alone. Billions of people live like this. Billions of people are operating in darkness. Billions of people are making decisions without genuine clarity. But here's the good news. You don't have to continue like this. God offers a clear path, literally, to get out of this darkness. God offers a way to gain clarity in any situation. God offers enlightenment. And in this episode, we're going to explore exactly how to access that illumination. Let's understand why clarity is so critical. Let's discover how a lack of clarity is sabotaging your decisions. Let's learn the 5 channels through which you can achieve genuine clarity. And let's see how to apply this divine principle to transform your life. The music swells. The light on the screen shines more intensely. Because here is the truth that will resonate throughout this entire episode. You are not suffering because life is unfair. You are suffering because you are operating in darkness. You are suffering because you make decisions without clarity. You are suffering because you do not seek deep understanding before acting. But that can change. Today, right now, you can begin to seek clarity. You can begin to illuminate your path. You can begin to live with the confidence of someone who knows exactly where they are going. And when you do that, everything changes. Your anxiety decreases because there is clarity about your purpose. Your insecurity disappears because there is clarity about your values. Your decisions improve because there is clarity about the consequences. Your entire life is transformed. It all starts with a decision. Will you continue operating in darkness, or will you seek the light? Welcome to the light before action, the principle of clarity. Prepare for a journey that will transform how you understand life, how you make decisions, and how you live. The screen is still dark, but now there are disturbing sounds. Hurried footsteps, confused voices, racing heartbeats. The atmosphere shifts from hope to tension. Look around you. Really look. Why do some people thrive while others, with the exact same opportunities, fail miserably? Why do some relationships last decades while others crumble in months? Why do some businesses grow exponentially while others fail before completing a year? Why do some professionals advance rapidly in their careers while others stagnate, repeating the same mistakes year after year? The answer most people give is luck, talent, connections, privilege. But that answer is wrong. The real answer is much simpler and much more powerful: clarity. People who thrive do one thing differently from others. They seek deep understanding before acting. They study, they research, they consult experts, they pray for wisdom. They reflect on the consequences. They test their assumptions. They seek genuine clarity before making critical decisions. Meanwhile, other people act impulsively. They act based on fleeting emotions. They act because their friends are doing it. They act because they are afraid of missing an opportunity. They act because someone pressured them. They act without clarity, and they suffer the consequences. The difference between success and failure is often simply this: clarity versus confusion. The disturbing sounds grow louder. The tension rises. Now, let me show you exactly how this lack of clarity manifests itself in real life, because it's not abstract, it's concrete, it's visceral, it's painful. First sign: relationships that fall apart without warning. Do you know that couple that seemed perfect? Everyone said, "What a beautiful couple. What a beautiful love." But suddenly, everything falls apart. Separation, divorce, traumatized children, destroyed families. What happened? Lack of clarity. They entered the relationship without clarity about fundamental values, without clarity about expectations, without clarity about how to handle conflicts, without clarity about a shared purpose. They fell in love, and love is important. But love without clarity is like building a house on sand. Eventually, the tide rises and everything collapses. If they had sought clarity before committing, they would have asked themselves difficult questions. What are your core values? How do you see the future? How do you handle conflict? What does family mean to you? What is your purpose in life? These questions are uncomfortable, but they bring clarity, and clarity would have prevented years of suffering. Second sign: investments that result in devastating losses. Do you know that friend who made an amazing investment? He was so excited, so confident. "I'm going to get rich," he said. But months later, the investment collapsed. He lost everything, or almost everything. Now he's in debt. His family is suffering. His marriage is at risk. What happened? Lack of clarity. He invested money he didn't understand in opportunities he hadn't researched. He trusted someone he didn't know. He believed promises that were too good to be true because they were. He acted impulsively, driven by greed and fear of missing out. He didn't seek clarity about risks, the business model, or the reputation of the person who recruited him. If I had sought clarity, I would have asked questions. How exactly does this investment work? What are the real risks? What is the success rate? Can I speak to other people who have invested? Can I verify this person's credentials? These questions would have revealed the truth, and the truth would have prevented the financial loss. Third sign: careers that lead to deep frustration. Do you know that professional who's always complaining? He hates his job, he hates his boss, he hates his company, but he's still there, year after year, frustrated, bitter, wasting his best years on something that makes him unhappy. Why doesn't he leave? Because he lacks clarity about alternatives. He lacks clarity about his true aptitudes. He lacks clarity about his professional purpose. He entered this career because someone suggested it, or because it seemed safe, or because his parents wanted it. But he never sought clarity about what truly makes him happy, what truly motivates him, what truly makes him feel alive. If he had sought clarity, he would have asked himself, what do I truly enjoy doing? What am I naturally good at? What is my professional purpose? What kind of environment makes me thrive? What kind of work energizes me? These questions would have revealed a different path, a path that would make him happy, a path that would make him fulfilled. The disturbing sounds grow more intense: confused voices, distant screams, a feeling of chaos. Fourth sign, neglected health that becomes a chronic disease. Do you know someone who didn't have time and to take care of their health? They ate poorly, they didn't exercise, they slept little, they lived stressed, but they would say, "I'm fine, I don't need to worry." Until one day, they received a diagnosis that changed their life. A chronic illness, maybe cancer, maybe diabetes, maybe heart disease. Now she's paying the price. Literally. Spending money on treatments, spending time in hospitals, spending energy on recovery. All of this could have been prevented. Why? Lack of clarity. She lacked clarity about the consequences of her choices. She didn't understand that every meal is a choice. Every night of lost sleep is a choice. Every day without exercise is a choice. And these choices have unseen consequences that accumulate over time. If she had sought clarity, she would have understood, my body is a temple. My choices today determine my health tomorrow. Neglecting my health now means suffering later. That clarity would have changed her decisions, and her different decisions would have resulted in different health. Fifth sign, disorganized finances leading to poverty. Do you know that person who never has any money? They earn well, but they're always broke, always borrowing, always in debt. They don't understand why. My money just disappears, they say. Of course it disappears, because she has no clarity about where she's going. She doesn't have a budget. She doesn't track her expenses. She doesn't understand the difference between need and want. She lacks clarity about her financial priorities. She spends impulsively, based on emotions and impulses of the moment. And at the end of the month, she doesn't know where her money went. If she had sought clarity, she would have asked questions like, where is my money going? What are my financial priorities? How much do I need to save? What is my plan to build wealth? These questions would have revealed the truth, and the truth would have allowed her to take control of her finances. The music changes. It becomes darker, more disturbing. Now, here's what's really scary. These are not isolated cases. These are patterns. Billions of people are living like this. Billions of people are making decisions without clarity. Billions of people are suffering the consequences. And the worst part is this. They don't know they could have avoided all of this. They don't know that clarity was available. They don't know that they could have sought deeper understanding before acting. They don't know that they could have asked difficult questions that would have revealed the truth. They just suffer and suffer and suffer. Sounds of distant violence, screams, chaos. The feeling that something very bad is happening. And here's the element nobody wants to talk about. There's invisible violence happening all around you. It's not physical violence. It's emotional violence, spiritual violence, intellectual violence. There are people being manipulated by others who understand how to exploit a lack of clarity. There are people being deceived by scammers who know exactly how to exploit ignorance. There are people being harmed by systems that profit from their confusion. Are you being manipulated? Are you being deceived? Are you being harmed? You don't know. Because you lack clarity. Lack of clarity is a vulnerability. It's a weakness that others exploit. It's a weak point that predators identify and attack. People with clarity of mind are not easily manipulated. People with clarity of mind don't fall for scams. People with clarity of mind are not harmed by unjust systems because they can identify injustice and protect themselves. But people lacking clarity of mind, they are easy prey. The music gets even more intense. The chaos grows. And now, let me ask you a question that will resonate in your mind. How many decisions have you made without genuine clarity? How many times have you acted impulsively, based on fleeting emotions? How many times have you followed advice from people who didn't understand your situation? How many times have you gotten into something without truly understanding the consequences? How often are you living with the consequences of these decisions? Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. You're suffering because you made decisions without clarity. Your relationships are in trouble because you haven't sought clarity about compatibility. Your finances are disorganized because you haven't sought clarity about priorities. Your career is stagnant because you haven't sought clarity about purpose. Your health is neglected because you haven't sought clarity about consequences. Everything, absolutely everything, comes back to a lack of clarity. But here's the good news that will change everything. You can start seeking clarity now. You can start today, right now. You can start asking the tough questions. You can start researching. You can start consulting experts. You can start praying for wisdom. You can start seeking deep understanding before you act. And when you do that, everything changes. The first signs of trouble disappear. Invisible violence loses its power. Manipulation no longer works. Scams are identified and avoided. Unfair systems are recognized, and you protect yourself. It all starts with clarity. The screen is still dark, but now there's an illusion of light, as if a candle were lit, but the light is dim, deceptive. Sounds of false confidence, laughter, confident voices, distant applause. Many people live in a false sense of security, and that is perhaps the most dangerous situation of all. They believe they have clarity when in reality they are operating in complete ignorance. They believe they understand when in reality they are blind. They believe they are in control when in reality they are being controlled by forces they cannot see. This is the most insidious trap of a lack of clarity. You don't know that you don't know. Let me show you how this works in practice. The music shifts to something that sounds confident but with an underlying note of falseness. Scenario 1. The perfect relationship. A young man meets a woman. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She makes him laugh. He falls in love. Deeply, completely. He believes he's found the one. He believes love conquers all. He believes they will live happily ever after. But he lacks clarity about the compatibility of fundamental values. He doesn't know how she handles conflict. He doesn't understand her expectations regarding family, finances, religion, and life purpose. He didn't seek this information because he was in love. And when you're in love, you believe you don't need clarity. You believe love is enough. So he proposes marriage. She accepts. They get married. And for a few months, everything seems perfect. He's living in an illusion of clarity. He believes he understands his wife. He believes they're aligned. He believes everything will work out. But then reality begins to set in. She wants to have children. He doesn't. She is religious. He is agnostic. She wants to travel and explore the world. He wants stability and routine. She is extroverted and wants to go out constantly. He is introverted and wants to stay home. She spends money freely. He is thrifty. She wants him to be more ambitious professionally. He is satisfied with his current job. Suddenly, that perfect relationship is collapsing. They are in constant conflict. They are hurting each other. They are considering divorce. And he thinks, how did this happen? I loved her. I believed we had clarity, but he never had clarity. He had an illusion of clarity. He had a false sense that he understood, and that illusion led him to make a decision that is destroying his life. The music gets more tense. Scenario 2. The guaranteed investment. A man meets someone at a party. This person talks about an incredible investment opportunity. You can earn 50% a year, he says. It's guaranteed. Many people are already making money with it. The man becomes interested, but he's unclear about how the investment works. He doesn't understand the business model. He hasn't researched the person's reputation. He hasn't verified their credentials. He hasn't consulted a financial expert. But he believes he has clarity. He believes he understands. He believes it's a legitimate opportunity because other people are doing it. He believes that if he doesn't act now, he'll miss the opportunity. So he invests. He puts in a significant amount of money, and for a few months, he receives returns, small returns, but returns nonetheless. He's happy. He believes he made the right choice. He believes he has clarity. But then, one day, the person disappears. The investment was a Ponzi scheme. He lost everything, not only his initial money, but also the returns he received, because those returns were just his own money being given back to create the illusion of profit. Now he's in debt. His family is suffering. His marriage is at risk. And he thinks, how could I have been so stupid? How could I not have seen this? But he wasn't stupid. He had a false sense of clarity. He believed he understood when in reality he was blind. And this illusion led him to make a decision that is destroying his life. The sounds of false confidence grow louder, laughter that sounds empty, applause that echoes without meaning. Scenario 3. The secure career. A woman works in a stable job. She has a decent salary. She has benefits. She has security. She believes she is in a good place. She believes she has clarity about her professional future. But she lacks clarity about her true satisfaction. She doesn't understand if she's happy or just comfortable. She doesn't know if she's growing or just stagnating. She doesn't understand if she's living her purpose or just paying the bills. She believes she has clarity because she has security. But security is not clarity. Security is merely the absence of immediate risk. Clarity is profound understanding. So she continues in that job, year after year, decade after decade. And one day, she wakes up and realizes she wasted her best years on something that doesn't make her happy. She realizes she could have done something extraordinary. She realizes she let her life pass her by. And she thinks, how did I not see that? How did I not understand? But she had a false sense of clarity. She believed she understood when in reality she was blind to her own needs and desires. The music changes to something darker, more disturbing. Now, let me reveal something that will change your perspective forever. A false sense of clarity is more dangerous than a lack of clarity. When you know you lack clarity, you search. You research. You consult experts. You ask difficult questions. You stay alert. But when you believe you have clarity, when you have a false sense of understanding, you don't seek, you don't research, you don't consult experts, you don't ask difficult questions. You are confident. And that false confidence is exactly what predators, scammers, and unfair systems exploit. They know you believe you have clarity. They know you won't question. They know you'll act based on your illusion of understanding. And they exploit that. Sounds of manipulation, whispers, evil laughter, deceptive voices. The first real threat. Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. You may be operating in complete darkness without even knowing it. You may be making decisions based on incomplete information. You may be being manipulated by people who know how to exploit your ignorance. You may be being deceived by systems that profit from your confusion. You may be wasting your life in directions that don't serve your true purpose. And you believe you have clarity. How many decisions have you made with confidence, only to later discover you were completely wrong? How many times have you believed you understood, only to find you were blind? How many times has your false sense of clarity led you to suffer? Because here's the pattern. Every time you suffer, it's because you had a false sense of clarity. You suffered in your relationship because you believed you had clarity about compatibility. You suffered in your investment because you believed you had clarity about the opportunity. You suffered in your career because you believed you had clarity about satisfaction. You suffered in your health because you believed you had clarity about the consequences. You suffered in your finances because you believed you had clarity about your priorities. False clarity is the root of all suffering. The music becomes even more intense. There's a feeling that something very bad is about to happen. The biblical comparison. Now, let me offer a comparison that will illuminate all of this. In the Bible, there is a story about a man named Samson. He was incredibly strong. He had extraordinary physical power. He believed he was invincible. He believed he had clarity about his strength and his limitations. But he had a false sense of power. He lacked clarity about his real weaknesses. He didn't understand that his strength came from God, not from himself. He didn't understand that his strength had conditions, that he needed to remain separate, that he needed to remain faithful. So he acted based on his false sense of power. He became involved with Delilah. He revealed the secret of his strength. He was betrayed. His eyes were gouged out. He was enslaved. He lost everything. And why? Because he had a false sense of clarity about his own power. Now you might be thinking, that's an old story. That doesn't apply to me. But it applies completely. You also have a false sense of power. You believe you understand your world. You believe you are in control. You believe your decisions are based on genuine clarity. But you could be completely wrong. You may be being manipulated by forces you can't see. You may be being deceived by people who know how to exploit your ignorance. You may be wasting your life in directions that don't serve your true purpose, and you believe you have clarity. The music changes to something that sounds like a warning, urgent, disturbing. The destruction of illusion. But here's what's really important. Illusion can be shattered. False clarity can be exposed. Truth can be revealed. And when the truth is revealed, everything changes. You realize you didn't understand your relationship. You realize you didn't understand the investment. You realize you didn't understand your career. You realize you didn't understand your priorities. And that realization is painful. Very painful. Because it means you made mistakes. It means you suffered unnecessarily. It means you wasted time and resources. But this pain is also liberating, because once you recognize that you lack clarity, you can begin to seek genuine clarity. Once you recognize that you are blind, you can begin to seek light. Once you recognize that you are being manipulated, you can begin to protect yourself. Destroying illusion is the first step towards true clarity. The music shifts to something more hopeful but still tense. The critical question. Now let me ask you a question that will resonate in your mind. In which area of your life do you have a false sense of clarity? In which relationship do you believe you have clarity when in reality you are blind? In which investment do you believe you understand, when in reality you are being deceived? In which career do you believe you are satisfied when in reality you are merely comfortable? In which aspect of your health do you believe you are fine when in reality you are neglecting it? Because here's the truth. You have a false sense of clarity somewhere in your life. Everyone has them, because nobody has complete clarity about everything. We all operate with incomplete information. We all have blind spots. We all have areas where we believe we understand when in fact we are blind. The question is, will you acknowledge this? Will you seek genuine clarity? Or will you continue operating in your illusion until reality destroys it? Because reality always shatters illusions. Eventually, the only question is when and how much suffering you will experience in the process. The screen is brighter now, but the light reveals disturbing things. Sounds of suffering, distant crying, desperate voices, racing heartbeats. The atmosphere is one of urgency and growing despair. Now things are getting really difficult, because a lack of clarity isn't a static problem. It's not something that stays the same over time. It's something that gets worse, that escalates, that intensifies, that slowly consumes you until you're completely destroyed. Let me show you how this climb works. The music changes to something more intense, more disturbing. First escalation, the relationship begins to fall apart. You got married without clarity about compatibility. In the first few months, everything seemed fine. You were on your honeymoon. You were in love. You believed you had made the right choice. But then, the first conflicts appear. Small conflicts about how to spend money, about how to spend the weekend, about how to deal with the family. Small conflicts, but ones that reveal fundamental differences you had never explored before. You try to resolve these conflicts, but you don't have the tools to do so. You lack clarity on how to communicate. You lack clarity on how to negotiate. You lack clarity on how to find solutions that satisfy both parties. Then the conflicts worsen. They become more frequent. They become more intense. You start saying hurtful things. Your spouse starts saying hurtful things. You start questioning whether you truly love each other. You start questioning whether you made a mistake. And the pain grows, day after day, week after week, month after month. You try to talk about it, but the conversations lead nowhere. You try couples therapy, but you're so hurt that it's hard to be vulnerable. You try to take a break. But time doesn't heal wounds that were created by a lack of fundamental clarity. Now you're considering divorce. You're thinking about leaving your spouse. You're imagining what your life would be like apart, and that imagination is frightening because it means admitting you made a mistake. It means admitting you lacked clarity. It means admitting you wasted years of your life. Sounds of crying, arguing, and despair. Second escalation. The investment completely collapses. You invested money in an opportunity you didn't understand. For a few months, you received returns. You were happy. You believed you had made the right choice. But then, something changes. The returns decrease. You try to contact the person who recruited you. They don't respond. You try to access your account. It's been frozen. You realize something is very wrong. You start researching. You discover that other people have also invested. You discover that many people lost money. You discover that it might be a Ponzi scheme. You discover that the person who recruited you disappeared. Now you're panicking. You try to get your money back, but there's nothing to get back. You try to sue the person, but they've disappeared. You try to contact the authorities, but they say there's little they can do. You lost everything, not just your initial money, but also the returns you received, because those returns were simply your own money being given back to you. Now, you are in debt. You need to borrow money to pay your bills. You need to borrow money to feed your family. You are ashamed. You are desperate. You are considering things you never thought you would consider. Your spouse is furious. He or she trusted you to make wise financial decisions. Now you have destroyed that trust. Now you have destroyed the family's financial security. Now you are creating additional conflict in a relationship that was already struggling. Sounds of financial despair, bills being paid, money being counted, anxious voices. Third climb. The career begins to collapse. You work in a job that doesn't satisfy you. You believed you had clarity about your career. You believed you were in a good place. You believed you had security. But now you realize you're stagnating. You realize you're not growing. You realize you're wasting your best years on something that doesn't make you happy. You realize you could be doing something extraordinary, but instead you're just paying the bills. Frustration grows, day after day. You go to work reluctantly. You spend the day counting down the hours until you can leave. You arrive home exhausted, not physically, but emotionally. You have no energy for your family. You have no energy for your friends. You have no energy for anything. Your health begins to suffer. You sleep poorly. You eat poorly. You don't exercise. You are constantly stressed. You start to have headaches. You start to have digestive problems. You start to have anxiety. Your relationships begin to suffer. Your spouse notices you're unhappy. Your children notice you're unhappy. They sense your frustration. They sense your lack of energy, and it affects them too. Now you're considering leaving your job, but you're unclear about what to do next. You're unclear about your real skills. You're unclear about your professional purpose. You don't have enough savings to be unemployed for very long. You're stuck. You're desperate. Sounds of professional frustration. Clocks ticking, phones ringing, tired voices. Fourth climb. Health begins to fail. You neglected your health. You ate poorly. You didn't exercise. You slept too little. You lived a stressful life. You believed you were young and strong. You believed you could recover later. You believed you were aware of the consequences of your choices. But you were wrong. Your body starts to fail. You begin to feel pains you've never felt before. You start to tire easily. You start having trouble sleeping. You start having digestive problems. You start having respiratory problems. You go to the doctor. He runs tests. The results aren't good. You have high blood pressure. You have high cholesterol. You have prediabetes. You have chronic inflammation. You have nutritional deficiencies. The doctor says, you need to change your lifestyle. You need to eat better. You need to exercise. You need to sleep more. You need to reduce stress. You know he's right. But now it's much harder, because your body has already been damaged, because your habits have already been established, because you're so busy dealing with the problems created by a lack of clarity in other areas of your life that you don't have the energy to change your health habits. Now you are taking medication. Now you are spending money on treatments. Now you are spending time in medical appointments. Now you are living in fear that your health will get even worse. Sounds of physical suffering, heavy breathing, irregular heartbeat, hospital sounds. Fifth escalation. Finances completely collapse. You lacked clarity about your finances. You spent impulsively. You didn't have a budget. You didn't track your expenses. You believed everything would be all right. But now everything has collapsed. You have credit card debt. You have personal loans. You have overdue bills. You have collections from debt collection agencies. Your name is on defaulter lists. You can't sleep at night because you're worried about money. You can't concentrate at work because you're worried about money. You can't enjoy time with your family because you're worried about money. Your spouse is furious. He or she trusted you to manage the finances. Now you have destroyed the family's financial security. Now you are creating additional conflict in a relationship that was already struggling. You are considering declaring bankruptcy. You are considering selling your house. You are considering things you never thought you would consider. Sounds of financial collapse, bills being paid, money being counted, desperate voices, the convergence of suffering. Now, here's what's really scary. All these problems are happening simultaneously. Your relationship is falling apart. Your investment has collapsed. Your career is stagnant. Your health is failing. Your finances are collapsing. And all these problems are connected because they all have the same root: lack of clarity. You lacked clarity about your relationship, so you entered it without understanding compatibility. Now you are in constant conflict. Now your spouse is furious with you because of failed investments and disorganized finances. Now you are emotionally detached because you are so focused on resolving crises that you have no energy for intimacy. You lacked clarity about investments, so you lost money. Now you're in debt. Now you're stressed. Now your relationship is at risk because of financial stress. You lacked clarity about your career, so you're in a job that doesn't fulfill you. Now you're frustrated. Now you're stressed. Now your health is suffering because of the stress. Now you don't have the energy to solve your other problems. You lacked clarity about your health, so you neglected your body. Now you're sick. Now you're spending money on treatments. Now you're even more stressed. Now you're even more desperate. You lacked clarity about your finances, so you spent impulsively. Now you're in debt. Now you're stressed. Now your relationship is at risk. Now you can't leave your unsatisfying job because you need the money. Everything is connected. Everything is getting worse. Everything is escalating. The music becomes very intense. Sounds of chaos, multiple voices, multiple problems all happening at the same time. The feeling of being trapped. And now you're trapped, completely trapped. You want to end your relationship, but you can't because you're financially dependent. You want to quit your job, but you can't because you need the money to pay your debts. You want to improve your health, but you can't because you're so stressed you have no energy. You want to organize your finances, but you can't because you're so busy putting out fires that you don't have time. You are trapped in a cycle of suffering, and the more you try to get out, the more trapped you become. You try to work longer hours to earn more money, but this worsens your health. You try to save money by cutting expenses, but this worsens your relationship because your spouse feels deprived. You try to improve your relationship by being more attentive, but you have no energy because you are so stressed about money and work. Everything you try to do makes things worse. The music shifts to something that sounds like despair, slow, heavy, oppressive, the necessary pain. But here's what's important to understand. This pain is necessary. It's not pleasant. It's not welcome. But it's necessary. Because this pain is what will finally awaken you. This pain is what will finally make you recognize that you can't continue like this. This pain is what will finally make you seek genuine clarity. Because while you were comfortable, while you had a false sense of clarity, you didn't seek, you didn't research, you didn't consult experts, you didn't ask difficult questions. But now that you're in pain, you're desperate. Now you're willing to do anything. Now you're open to change. Now you're ready to seek genuine clarity. The escalation of discomfort is painful, but it is also liberating, because it destroys the illusion. It destroys the false sense of clarity. It destroys complacency, and it creates space for true clarity to emerge. The music shifts to something more hopeful, but still tense. The question that changes everything now. Let me ask you a question that will resonate in your mind. Are you experiencing escalating discomfort right now? Are you experiencing multiple problems simultaneously? Is your relationship in trouble? Are your finances disorganized? Is your career stagnant? Is your health being neglected? Are you trapped in a cycle of suffering? If you are experiencing this, know that you are not alone. Billions of people are living like this. Billions of people are experiencing escalating discomfort. Billions of people are desperate. But here's the good news. This pain is a sign. It's a sign that you need to seek clarity. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is a messenger. Pain is saying, something is wrong. You need to change. You need to seek deep understanding. And if you listen to this messenger, if you answer this call, everything can change. The screen, which had been dark, begins to glow. It's not a weak or deceptive light. It's a genuine, powerful light that illuminates everything. The music changes to something hopeful, inspiring, uplifting. Sounds of hope, deep breathing, calm heartbeats, soft voices. You are in pain. You are desperate. You are trapped in a cycle of suffering that seems endless. But then comes the revelation that will change everything. You don't have to continue like this. You don't need to continue operating in darkness. You don't need to continue making decisions without clarity. You don't need to continue suffering unnecessarily. There is a way. There is a solution. There is a way to achieve genuine clarity in any situation. And this path is available to you now. The light on the screen shines more intensely. The fundamental truth. Let me start with a truth that will change your perspective forever. God doesn't want you to suffer. God doesn't want you to live in darkness. God doesn't want you to make decisions without clarity. God wants you to prosper. God wants you to live fully. God wants you to have clarity. And God has offered you a way to gain that clarity. It's not a complicated path. It's not a path that requires years of study or secret initiation. It's a simple, direct path, accessible to anyone willing to seek it. This path has 5 channels, 5 ways through which you can gain genuine clarity in any situation. And I'm going to reveal each one of them to you now. The music grows, it becomes more inspiring. First channel, the Word of God. The primary source of clarity is the Word of God, the Bible. Now you might be thinking, but I'm not religious. I don't believe in the Bible. How can this help me? Let me be clear. You don't need to be religious to benefit from the Bible. You don't need to believe it's the literal Word of God. You just need to recognize that the Bible contains timeless wisdom about how to live well. The Bible was written over thousands of years by hundreds of different authors. And despite this diversity, there are consistent themes that are repeated. The importance of integrity, the power of forgiveness, the need for community, the danger of greed, the importance of humility, the value of perseverance. These themes are not accidental. They reflect profound truths about human nature and how to thrive. When you study the Bible, you are accessing the wisdom of thousands of years of human experience. You are learning from other people's mistakes. You are learning from other people's successes. You are gaining clarity on timeless principles that work. For example, if you are experiencing financial difficulties, the Bible offers clarity on greed, generosity, diligent work, and wise planning. If you are experiencing relational difficulties, the Bible offers clarity on communication, forgiveness, sacrifice, and compromise. If you are experiencing professional difficulties, the Bible offers clarity on purpose, integrity, excellence, and service. The Bible illuminates paths. The Bible reveals principles. The Bible brings clarity. Psalm 119:105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path." That is the promise. God's word is a lamp that illuminates your steps. It brings clarity to your path. The music becomes deeper, more spiritual. Second channel, prayer. The second channel to clarity is prayer. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't know how to pray. I'm not religious. How can this help me? Let me be clear. Prayer is not a magic formula. Prayer is not a complicated ritual. Prayer is simply conversation with God. It is you expressing your thoughts, your feelings, your doubts, your questions to the Creator of the universe. When you pray, you are doing something extraordinary. You are accessing the wisdom of someone who sees all things. You are asking for guidance from someone who fully understands your situation. You are seeking discernment from someone who has infinite perspective. Prayer works in several ways. First, it clarifies your own thoughts. When you articulate your doubts and questions aloud, you begin to better understand what you are really asking. You begin to see patterns you hadn't seen before. You begin to gain clarity simply through the act of expressing yourself. Secondly, prayer opens you to receive wisdom. When you are in a humble attitude, asking for help, you are open to learning. You are open to receiving insights you hadn't considered. You are open to perspectives that challenge your assumptions. Third, prayer connects you with something greater than yourself. When you pray, you are acknowledging that you don't have all the answers. You are acknowledging that you need help. And this humility is the fertile ground where wisdom grows. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." That is the promise. When you seek wisdom from God through prayer, he guides your paths. He brings clarity. The music grows. It becomes more inspiring. Third channel, wise advisors. The third channel for clarity is seeking advice from wise people. You can't see everything by yourself. You have blind spots. You have limitations. You have biases that distort your perception. But other people can see what you can't see. Other people can offer perspectives you hadn't considered. Other people can help you gain clarity. Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." That's the wisdom. You need advisors. You need people who can offer different perspectives. But here's the important thing. You need to choose your advisors carefully. You shouldn't seek advice from just anyone. You should seek advice from people who, they have experience in the area about which you are seeking clarity. They have integrity. They have no hidden agenda. They possess wisdom. They not only have experience, but also profound understanding. They have your best interests at heart. They're not trying to profit at your expense. When you find these advisors, you access their wisdom. You learn from their mistakes. You learn from their successes. You gain clarity that would take you years to achieve on your own. For example, if you are considering an investment, you should seek advice from someone who has experience in investing and who has integrity. If you are considering a relationship, you should seek advice from someone who has a healthy relationship and who understands relationship dynamics. If you are considering a career change, you should seek advice from someone who has professional experience and who understands the market. Wise advisors bring clarity. The music becomes more hopeful. Fourth channel, diligent study and research. The fourth channel of clarity is diligent study and research. You live in the information age. You have access to more knowledge than any previous generation in history. You can learn about virtually anything through the internet. You can read books. You can watch videos. You can take courses. You can access experts. But most people don't do that. Most people make important decisions without doing basic research. Most people enter into relationships without studying relationship dynamics. Most people invest money without studying investments. Most people change careers without studying the market, and they suffer the consequences. But you can be different. You can be someone who studies, who researches, who seeks deep understanding before acting. Proverbs 18:15 says, "The heart of the prudent acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge." That is wisdom. Wise people seek knowledge. They study. They research. They learn. When you study, you gain clarity. You understand how things work. You understand the risks. You understand the opportunities. You understand the consequences of different choices. Diligent study and research bring clarity. The music grows, becomes more powerful. Fifth channel, reflection and meditation. The fifth channel of clarity is reflection and meditation. You live in a noisy world. There are constantly stimuli competing for your attention. There is constant pressure to act fast. There is constant artificial urgency created by systems that benefit from your impulsiveness. But clarity doesn't come from haste. Clarity comes from stillness. Clarity comes from reflection. Clarity comes from meditation. When you sit in silence, when you turn off distractions, when you allow your mind to slow down, extraordinary things happen. You begin to see patterns you hadn't seen before. You begin to understand your own motivations. You begin to access wisdom that was always within you, but that you couldn't hear because of the noise. Meditation is not something mystical or religious, although it can be. Meditation is simply the act of sitting in silence and allowing your thoughts to settle. It is allowing your mind to calm down. It is creating space for clarity to emerge. When you meditate, you gain clarity. You understand yourself better. You understand your situations better. You understand better what really matters. Reflection and meditation bring clarity. The music shifts to something deeply hopeful and inspiring. The 5 channels work together. Now here's what's important to understand. These 5 channels don't work in isolation. They work together. They reinforce each other. When you study God's Word, you are accessing wisdom. When you pray, you are opening yourself to receive that wisdom. When you seek counsel from wise people, you are learning how to apply that wisdom. When you study and research, you are deepening your understanding. When you meditate, you are integrating that understanding into your life. Together, these 5 channels create a powerful system of clarity. A system that works. A system that delivers results. And here's the most important thing. This system is available to you now. You don't need to wait. You don't need to ask for permission. You don't need special credentials. You can start today. Right now. You can begin seeking genuine clarity. The light on the screen shines intensely. The music builds to an inspiring crescendo. The transformation begins here. Let me show you what happens when you begin to seek clarity through these 5 channels. You begin to understand your relationships better. You understand what truly matters. You understand how to communicate. You understand how to resolve conflicts. You understand how to build genuine intimacy. And your relationships begin to improve. You begin to understand investments better. You understand the risks. You understand legitimate opportunities. You understand how to protect your money. And your finances begin to improve. You begin to understand your career better. You understand your professional purpose. You understand your true skills. You understand the market. And your career begins to move forward. You begin to understand your health better. You understand the consequences of your choices. You understand how to build healthy habits. You understand how to take care of your body. And your health begins to improve. You begin to understand your finances better. You understand where your money is going. You understand your priorities. You understand how to build wealth. And your finances begin to fall into place. Everything changes. Because everything begins with clarity. The music reaches a powerful crescendo. On promise now, let me make you a promise. If you begin to seek genuine clarity through these 5 channels, your life will change. Not immediately, not magically, but gradually, consistently, your life will improve. Your relationships will improve because there is clarity about values and expectations. Your investments will improve because there is clarity about risks and opportunities. Your career will advance because there is clarity about purpose and direction. Your health will improve because there is clarity about consequences and habits. Your finances will become more organized because there is clarity about priorities and goals. Everything changes when you seek clarity. And the best part, you can start now. You can start today. You can start right now. You can open a Bible and begin to read. You can kneel and begin to pray. You can call someone wise and ask for advice. You can open a book or a browser and begin to search. You can sit in silence and begin to meditate. You can start now. The music shifts to something calm, yet powerful. Genuine hope. The choice is yours. But here's the important thing. Nobody can do this for you. Nobody can seek clarity for you. Nobody can make this decision for you. You can continue operating in darkness. You can continue making decisions without clarity. You can continue suffering unnecessarily, or you can make a different choice. You can decide you want clarity. You can decide you want deep understanding. You can decide you want to live well. And when you make that choice, everything changes. The screen is now fully illuminated. The light is intense, powerful, almost blinding. The music reaches a measured, increasing rhythm that builds tension and anticipation. Sounds of deep breathing, of a racing heartbeat, of anticipation. You've reached a turning point. You are in pain. You are desperate. You are trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of suffering. You have discovered that a lack of clarity is the root of everything. You have discovered that there are 5 channels through which you can achieve genuine clarity. But now you face a choice that defines life trajectories, a choice that determines your future, a choice that cannot be postponed or avoided. Will you continue operating in darkness, making impulsive decisions that result in suffering, or will you embrace the divine principle of seeking clarity before acting? This is the choice for the climax, and it is absolutely critical. The music swells, the rhythm intensifies. The moment of decision. Let me be very clear about what's at stake. If you continue as you are, your life will get worse. It won't get better. It won't stay the same. It will get worse. Because a lack of clarity is progressive. It escalates. It intensifies. It slowly consumes you until you are completely destroyed. Your relationships will continue to crumble. Your spouse will continue to be furious. Your children will continue to suffer. Eventually, you may lose your relationship completely. You may be alone, regretful, wondering why you didn't seek clarity when you had the chance. Your finances will remain disorganized. Your debts will continue to grow. You will continue to panic about money. Eventually, you may lose your home. You may be impoverished, regretful, wondering why you didn't seek clarity about your finances. Your career will continue to stagnate. Your frustration will continue to grow. You will continue to waste your best years on something that doesn't make you happy. Eventually, you may be old, regretful, wondering why you didn't seek clarity about your professional purpose. Your health will continue to fail. Your illnesses will continue to worsen. You will continue to spend money on treatments. Eventually, you may be seriously ill, regretful, wondering why you didn't seek clarity about your health when you had the chance. Things will get worse. Because you didn't seek clarity. The music reaches a peak of tension. But here's the other side of the coin. If you start seeking clarity now, your life will change. Not immediately, not magically, but gradually, consistently, your life will improve. Your relationships will improve because you will understand your spouse better. You will communicate better. You will resolve conflicts better. You will build genuine intimacy. Your relationship can be saved. It can be transformed into something extraordinary. Your finances will improve because you will understand where your money is going. You will create a budget. You will pay off your debts. You will start building wealth. You can be financially secure. You can be debt-free. You can be prosperous. Your career will advance because you will understand your professional purpose. You will identify your true aptitudes. You will seek opportunities that make you happy. You may be in a fulfilling job. You may be advancing rapidly. You may be living your professional purpose. Your health will improve because you will understand the consequences of your choices. You will build healthy habits. You will take care of your body. You can be healthy. You can be full of energy. You can be living a long and vibrant life. Everything will get better because you sought clarity. The music shifts to something more hopeful but still tense. The divine pattern. Now, Let me show you a pattern that repeats itself throughout the Bible, a pattern that reveals the critical importance of clarity. There is a man named Joseph. You may know the story. He was Jacob's son, and his father loved him more than his other sons. His brothers became jealous. They sold him into slavery. He was taken to Egypt. Now, Joseph could have become bitter. He could have become desperate. He could have acted impulsively, seeking revenge or escape. He could have made decisions based on emotion and despair. But he didn't do that. Instead, Joseph sought clarity. He prayed. He sought understanding. He sought wisdom. And when faced with critical decisions, he did not act impulsively. He consulted God. He sought discernment. He awaited clear direction. When his master's wife tried to seduce him, Joseph could have given in. He could have rationalized. He could have acted on physical desire. But he was clear about integrity. He was clear about right and wrong. He refused. When Joseph was unjustly imprisoned, he could have become bitter. He could have become desperate. He could have acted impulsively, but he had clarity about purpose. He had clarity that God was with him. He continued to act with integrity. When Joseph was promoted to governor of Egypt, he could have become arrogant. He could have become corrupt. He could have abused his power. But he was clear about responsibility. He was clear that his power was to serve others. He used his power wisely. And you know what happened? Joseph not only survived, he prospered. He became one of the most powerful men in Egypt. He saved nations from famine. He was reconciled with his family. He lived an extraordinary life. Why? Because he sought clarity. Because he did not act impulsively. Because he consulted God before making critical decisions. The music grows. It becomes more inspiring. The contrast. Now, let me show you the contrast. There's another man in the Bible named Samson. You may know the story. He was incredibly strong. He had extraordinary physical power. He had everything: strength, beauty, opportunity. But Samson lacked clarity. He acted impulsively. He followed his desires. He did not consult God. He did not seek wisdom. He simply acted based on emotion and impulse. He became involved with Delilah. He revealed the secret of his strength. He was betrayed. His eyes were gouged out. He was enslaved. He lost everything. Samson had more power than Joseph, but Joseph prospered while Samson was destroyed. Why? Because Joseph sought clarity, while Samson acted impulsively. The music reaches a powerful crescendo. Critical truth. Now, here is the truth that will resonate in your mind. Clarity is not a luxury. Clarity is an absolute necessity for living well. You may have talent, you may have opportunity, you may have resources, but without clarity, you will waste everything. You will make decisions that destroy you. You will suffer unnecessarily. But with clarity, you can transform any situation. You can overcome any obstacle. You can live an extraordinary life. The difference between success and failure is not talent, it's clarity. The difference between happiness and suffering is not circumstance, it's clarity. The difference between a wasted life and an extraordinary life is not luck, it's clarity. The music becomes more intense, more urgent, the moment of personal decision. And now, you face your own moment of decision, your own climax. Will you be like Joseph? Will you seek clarity? Will you consult God? Will you seek wisdom before acting? Will you live with integrity even when it's difficult? Will you prosper? Or will you be like Samson? Will you act impulsively? Will you follow your desires without questioning? Will you ignore wisdom? Will you be destroyed? The choice is yours, and that choice defines everything. The music reaches an absolute crescendo, the peak of the climax. The urgency. Let me be very clear. You don't have infinite time. You don't know how many years you have left. You don't know how many opportunities you'll have. You don't know how many chances you'll have to change direction. All you have is now, this moment, this opportunity. If you don't seek clarity now, you may never have another chance. You could be trapped in your impulsive choices forever. You could be living with regret for the rest of your life. But if you seek clarity now, you can transform everything. You can change direction. You can live an extraordinary life. The urgency is real. The time is now. The music shifts to something that sounds like a call, urgent, yet hopeful. The final choice. So here's the question that will define your future. Are you seeking clarity? Will you open a Bible and begin to read? Will you kneel and begin to pray? Will you call someone wise and ask for advice? Will you begin to research and study? Will you sit in silence and meditate? Are you going to do these things, or are you going to continue as you are? Because here's the truth. Nobody can do this for you. Nobody can seek clarity for you. Nobody can make this decision for you. You can continue to suffer, or you can begin to seek clarity. The choice is yours, and that choice defines everything. The music reaches a final crescendo, the absolute peak of the climax. The call. Let me make one final appeal to you. Are you tired of suffering? Are you tired of making impulsive decisions? Are you tired of living in darkness? So seek clarity. Now. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Open a Bible. Pray. Seek advice. Research. Meditate. Begin your journey to clarity today. Because when you do this, everything changes. Your relationships improve. Your finances get organized. Your career advances. Your health improves. Your entire life is transformed. It all starts with a decision to seek clarity. Are you going to make that choice? The screen is bright, but now there's a different quality to the light. It's not just illumination, it's revelation. The music shifts to something deep, contemplative, but with an underlying note of power. Sounds of transformation, deep breathing, firm footsteps, voices that echo with purpose. You made the choice. You have decided to seek clarity. You have decided not to continue operating in darkness. You have decided to embrace the divine principle of seeking understanding before acting. And now, something extraordinary is happening. The music builds slightly, becoming more hopeful. Resolution of the main conflict. Let me show you what happens when you begin to seek genuine clarity. Your relationship doesn't fall apart. Instead, you begin to understand your spouse deeply. You understand their values. You understand their needs. You understand their hopes and fears. And when you understand, you can communicate better. You can resolve conflicts better. You can build genuine intimacy. Your spouse notices the change. He or she realizes that you are truly trying to understand, that you are truly listening, that you truly care. And that changes everything. The relationship begins to heal. It begins to strengthen. It begins to transform into something extraordinary. Your investments stop failing. Instead, you start researching. You begin to understand how investments work. You start identifying legitimate opportunities. You start avoiding scams. Your finances begin to improve. You start building genuine wealth. Your career doesn't remain stagnant. Instead, you begin to understand your professional purpose. You start to identify your true aptitudes. You begin to seek opportunities that make you happy. You start to move forward. You begin to live your professional purpose. Your health doesn't continue to fail. Instead, you begin to understand the consequences of your choices. You start building healthy habits. You start taking care of your body. Your health begins to improve. You begin to live with energy and vitality. Your finances don't remain disorganized. Instead, you begin to understand where your money is going. You start creating a budget. You start paying off your debts. You start building wealth. Your finances begin to get organized. The main conflict, the lack of clarity that was destroying his life, is beginning to be resolved. The music changes to something more contemplative. The unexpected twist. But here comes the unexpected twist. The clarity you seek isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's not just about preventing suffering. It's not just about solving problems. Clarity is key to creating extraordinary opportunities. Let me explain. When you deeply understand your purpose, like your values, your aptitudes, you not only avoid wrong paths, you identify extraordinary paths that other people fail to see. Other people are operating in darkness. They are making impulsive decisions. They are following the crowd. They are living generic lives without purpose, without direction. But you have clarity. You understand your purpose. You understand your values. You understand your aptitudes. And because you have clarity, you can see opportunities that other people can't see. You can identify a market niche that no one else sees. You can create an extraordinary business. You can become a leader in your industry. You can identify a relationship that is truly compatible. You can build an extraordinary marriage. You can create an extraordinary family. You can identify a career that truly fulfills you. You can advance quickly. You can become an authority in your field. You can identify a lifestyle that truly makes you happy. You can live with purpose. You can live extraordinarily. The music grows. It becomes more inspiring. The magnetic power of clarity. Here's something nobody talks about regarding clarity. People with clarity of vision are magnetic. They attract the right people. They attract the right opportunities. They attract the right resources. Why? Because when you know exactly where you're going, you communicate it. You radiate confidence. You radiate purpose. You radiate direction. And people are drawn to that. People want to be around someone who knows where they're going. People want to work with someone who has clarity. People want to invest in someone who has a clear vision. So when you seek clarity, you don't just solve your problems. You begin to attract extraordinary opportunities. You begin to attract the right people. You begin to create a life that is truly extraordinary. The music changes to something that sounds like a hit, powerful, inspiring. The complete transformation. Let me show you the complete transformation that happens when you seek clarity. You start out as someone who is in pain. You are desperate. You are trapped in a cycle of suffering. You are operating in darkness. But then you make a choice. You decide to seek clarity. You open a Bible. You pray. You seek advice. You research. You meditate. And gradually, consistently, you begin to understand. You begin to see. You begin to gain clarity. With this clarity, you begin to make better decisions. You begin to avoid mistakes. You begin to solve problems. You begin to heal relationships. You begin to organize your finances. You begin to advance in your career. You begin to improve your health. But it doesn't stop there. With this clarity, you also begin to see extraordinary opportunities. You begin to create extraordinary things. You begin to attract extraordinary people. You begin to live extraordinarily. You transform from someone who is suffering into someone who is thriving. From someone who is lost into someone who has direction. From someone who is operating in darkness into someone who is living in the light. The music reaches a powerful crescendo, the doubt that remains. But here's something important I need to say. Even after all this transformation, one doubt remains. A question that doesn't have a complete answer, an uncertainty that cannot be fully resolved. Because clarity is not absolute certainty. Clarity is deep understanding, but it is not omniscience. You can have clarity about your purpose, but still not know exactly how it will unfold. You can have clarity about your values, but still face situations where those values conflict. You can have clarity about your aptitudes, but still not know if you will succeed. Life will always have elements of uncertainty. There will always be risks. There will always be the possibility of failure. But here's the important thing. With clarity, you can live well even with this uncertainty. You can make wise decisions even without absolute certainty. You can move forward even when afraid. You can thrive even with risks. Because clarity isn't about eliminating all uncertainty. Clarity is about deeply understanding what you know, honestly acknowledging what you don't know, and acting wisely despite that uncertainty. The music shifts to something more contemplative, yet still powerful. The last event now. Let me reveal the final event that will change your perspective forever. You are living with clarity. You are thriving. You are living extraordinarily. You are happy. But then, something happens. Something unexpected. Something that challenges your clarity. Something that tests your faith. It could be a financial crisis. It could be a health diagnosis. It could be a relationship conflict. It could be a professional loss. It could be anything that throws you back into the darkness. And you think, I had clarity. I was living well. How can this be happening? But here's what you find out. The clarity you've developed doesn't disappear. It remains. And because you have clarity, you can navigate this crisis much better than you would have before. You can understand the crisis. You can identify the lessons. You can find opportunities even in adversity. You can grow through difficulty. And when you emerge from this crisis, you have even more clarity. You have even more wisdom. You have even more strength. Because clarity isn't about living without difficulties. Clarity is about having the understanding and wisdom to navigate difficulties well. The music shifts to something that sounds like genuine hope, not naive, but grounded. The final message. Let me end with a message that will echo in your mind forever. You're not here by chance. You're not watching this video by chance. You're here because part of you knows you need clarity. Part of you knows you can't continue as you are. Part of you knows there's something better. And that part of you is correct. There is something better. There is a path to clarity. There is a path to prosperity. There is a path to an extraordinary life. And that journey begins now, right now, with a simple decision. Will you seek clarity? Are you going to open a Bible? Are you going to pray? Are you going to seek advice? Are you going to do research? Are you going to meditate? Are you going to do these things? Because when you do, everything changes. Your relationships improve. Your finances become more organized. Your career advances. Your health improves. Your entire life is transformed. And not only that, you start creating extraordinary opportunities. You start attracting the right people. You start living with purpose. You start living extraordinarily. It all begins with clarity. It all begins with a decision to seek deep understanding before acting. Are you going to make that choice? The music reaches a powerful, hopeful, transformative conclusion. The invitation. Let me extend one final invitation. You don't have to stay like this. You don't have to keep suffering. You don't have to keep operating in darkness. You can begin your journey to clarity today, right now. You can begin to seek deep understanding. You can begin to live well. And when you do that, you'll discover something extraordinary. The life you've always wanted isn't as far away as you thought. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for someone who has clarity. It's waiting for you. So, start today. Seek clarity. Live extraordinarily.